Hello, happy Friday. This is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. And today I'm going to give you an anecdotal incident of why there's a massive need for disruption in terms of with fintech, in terms of cross-border payments, and exactly why XRP, so X-current, XRP, exactly why it's needed. And then after that, I'm going to show you what may be some evidence that remittances are picking up and XRP is being used. I got some XRP ledger data for you, okay? After I posted my latest video, which was in the evening yesterday, I came across this tweet from Ripple here, and I was like, I haven't seen this one. And they tweeted out, by slashing cross-border remittance times to minutes, blockchain-enabled services are attracting users who typically aren't banked. And so here's the piece right here. And so today, though, because I knew I was going to probably talk about this, I tried pulling it up. I just went straight to ripple.com, went to their insights, and you go here, go to their insights page, and then you scroll down here. And then I was thinking these are all the latest ones. This is what I'm looking for. And I wanted to ask, tell me if your brain looks like this. It is blatantly obvious that right here is the piece I was looking for. And on so many websites, there's just advertisements right on this portion of the page, and my brain just chose to not read any of it. Went right down here, and I was like, where is this damn article? So I was frustrated, so I had to go back to Ripple's little Twitter feed here, and then I was like, oh yeah, okay, I'm an idiot, fine. But I was just curious, does that ever happen to any of you? Because I seriously do not want to just read these advertisements. Which, by the way, side point here, this is why we need Coil's technology to be adopted. So rather than having stupid advertisements to train me to not look at them, rather than having stupid advertisements or paywalls, we can just stream money in real time. Coil, I want it. I want it globally adopted. But anyway, check this out. I'll read just the first little piece here, okay? And this is from a managing partner of vGrip, who I was not familiar with vGrip personally. But this guy is named Roel Wolfert. I probably butchered that. All right. Here we go. One of the most striking aspects of the oil-rich Gulf states are their large migrant populations. 88% of people in the United Arab Emirates, can I talk on a Friday? United Arab Emirates, 75% of Qatar, and 74% in Kuwait are foreign-born. The majority of these immigrants are working on temporary visas to do jobs that their predominantly wealthy hosts won't do. Many leave their families behind, but remain the primary source of income for those dependents back home. The Gulf states are largely cash economies. This is good for migrants whose temporary and low-paid status makes it difficult and expensive to open and maintain bank accounts. But lack of access to regular banking facilities forces them to use slow and expensive cross-border remittance services when it's time to send money home. And what's interesting here, now, we all know that, in terms of the potential savings when it comes to cross-border payments, it really does depend on how many intermediaries there are. Because, as we're all aware, right, and I've stated in the past, when it comes to cross-border payments, it's basically a chain of bilateral banking relationships that even makes it possible in the first place. And so right here, in this particular instance, he's saying that there's data showing that up to 9% of the amount of money sent ends up going to service providers. So it's a bad deal for customers, essentially, is what they're saying here. Now, we also know that Ripple's technology can save upwards of 70%. So really, the truth is, it just kind of depends on how much friction there is in the payments channel that you're talking about. There's less friction, for example, if you're converting U.S. dollars to euros, for example. There's a lot more banking relationships there. But depending on how many intermediaries, how many hops there are in between, each little step in that those bilateral chain of relationship, that's going to eat up more and more funds. And so it was interesting to see in this particular one, it's 9%. Still, that's a problem. Still, it needs to be fixed. Whatever the percentage is, get it down to about 0, okay? And you do that by, well, of course, using XRP, but of course on the messaging side with Xcurrent, you just don't need as much human labor. It's all automated, right? Thank you, blockchain technology. It's pretty cool stuff here, right? And so I'm not going to read this whole thing. I will link it, though. It's worth reading. They estimate it takes about 4 minutes. That's probably about right. I don't know. I'm a slow reader. Maybe it took me 5. I don't know. Okay? But definitely worth reading through this thing. Now check this out. This is from Galgatron, and I really appreciate him putting this together. He's pulling data and actually putting it in charts. And so he tweeted this out today. He wrote, really encouraging chart moves in the yellow remittances range. I'd be hesitant at this point to dismiss it as all speculative, since the overall market seems to have quelled most of the fire from 2 weeks ago, and also since remittances seems to be breaking out on its own. So what he's saying is, in terms of price action and, of course, the volume that would be associated with that, we know it's been interesting the last couple of weeks here. And he's saying, despite the trend that's somewhat on the negative, right? Looky here. Look at this data. It's from the XRP ledger ultimately. He pulled it from Google has a service. What did he call it here? Google's BigQuery. But it's all, my understanding, it's all directly from the XRP ledger. And so you can pull up here's a full screen version of it. And he also has this chart down here, which I like. Gorgeous 30-day moving average lines. That is quite beautiful, isn't it? Look how it's smoothed out when you look at the moving average. Fantastic. And the yellow one, I can see why he finds that one most fascinating. It's because of the range that you're talking about. Remittances and payments greater than 20 and less than 1,500 XRP. So for simple numbers, I'm not going to pull out a calculator here, but let's just call it somewhere between, I don't know, 7 or 8 cents to, more or less $500. Just quick math. That's basically where we're seeing an upward trend here, despite the rest of the activity that's been occurring within the crypto asset class. Encouraging, right? And so I guess kind of his point is, why are we seeing that? If not, it's like his point is it's hard to dismiss it. And I'm going to take him at his word. He's following this in depth, and he's definitely not a hype guy. Okay, he's like one of the best critical thinkers that's in the XRP space, and he's just, if there's something that is negative, he's going to say it because he's a critical thinker, and it's more about facts, not if there's something bad, let's hide it and paint over it and pretend everything's cool. So if he's saying something like this, it's good, and he's not saying something definitively, just to be clear here, but he is saying, don't dismiss this. It's worth taking a look at. So I thought that was pretty cool news. I wanted to share it with you. One anecdotal story from a guy that was writing, has a little piece on the Ripple website, followed by some actual XRP ledger data. So what do you guys think? We're heading in the right direction. And look, I understand. Look, the price action of XRP is never going to move in tandem with progress in terms of XRP, the blockchain adoption. It doesn't matter how many partners you get. Well, not literally, but what I'm saying is, in terms of upward price action over time, it's never going to move. Okay, one new partner, one new fraction of an XRP increase in value. That's just not how humans work when they're buying and selling XRP in an open market, especially with how volatile this asset class is in general. It's just not going to happen. And so, for me, I'm a very patient man. I'm happy to wait. I'm never going to sell all of my XRP. And I want to look 10, 20 years out even, It's neat to follow it on a daily basis, all the developments, this and that. But in terms of price, I would really be curious if you look more like, seriously, I'd say, maybe as soon as a few years out, but, definitely 5, 10, 15, 20 years out. And so that's what I'm looking at. So I just want to share that with you guys. Feel free to drop some comments below. I love hearing from you. I am not a financial advisor. I'm just a regular guy who's a fan of XRP and Ripple and a whole bunch of other developers building on on top of the XRP ledger. I love what all the developers are doing. And I'm here to engage with people and share the things that I'm learning. But again, I'm just a regular guy with no financial background, so do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Thanks for watching.